I was too deep in with the drugs and the criminals by then that I ended up running a police officer over in a drugs bust.
And where it hit me massively. And I went into this really black hole. And it wasn't until I went, well, when I tried to take my own life.
He had about 5 different social workers in the last 18 months. And yeah, he was kind of on a waiting list for CAMHS.
And so from that point on, my life fell apart. I had to have 1.5 years of chemotherapy, along with an amputation.
So I was involved in a drugs bust because I had heroin with me and I was the only person that had the supply of it. And now the thing is, when you've got people that are addicted to drugs, people will do anything for it. So I was the only one there, and I turned up to this drug deal. And then an undercover police officer put his head through my car window. And then I've ended up trapping him, driving off with him. Yeah, it was just a little bit crazy.
If nobody was going to educate me on that, I would have just thought that sport was sport and mental health was mental health, and none of those worlds collided until I was, in deep counselling, and my counsellor turned around and said to me, actually, no, you are going through, chronic depression, and your sport kept you afloat. And without that, you probably would have gone into a deep hole much more sooner than you actually have.
She was just after anything to support her son. Her son was 14, and he was she was thinking he was getting involved in the wrong peer group. He was really struggling to regulate his emotions, at risk of being excluded, and he had nowhere else to turn. And I just kind of said, I thought you needed like a qualification or a degree or like a kind of doctorate in therapy to be able to help people. And what I quickly found is that sport can be that help that's needed. So I said to her, I don't know if I can help, but me and my friend, we can hold the pads for him. We can teach him a little bit of boxing if that works.
Always wanted to show people that no matter what you go through, you can always find a positive, and you can always, if you put your mind to it, achieve anything. And when we went to the World Cup and I won the Golden Boot, I just wanted to dedicate that to all those people that perhaps think that they can't. And actually, I wanted to show them that you can. And if you want to, you can do whatever you want, no matter what you've been through.
Like a young person in prison, it costs around £52,000 to put a young person in prison for a year. If you give small organisations just £5,000 or £6,000, how many people are they going to keep out of prison? Through sport and activities, and it's sport's so powerful for me personally to turn my back on a life of no mistaking. I could have made a lot more money doing my drug style. Yeah. I'd have been in and out of prison all my life. I'd have had good money, prison, good money, prison, good money, prison. The power of sport stopped all that, and that's, to me, that's why I'm trying to create opportunities at every angle for people to be involved in sport.
There's a girl who she wanted to take her own life. Face to face, you would have thought that nothing was going on at home. And if it wasn't for Goals for Girls, I don't think she'd be here today. And she's thriving now. She's in an art, and she's doing, art masters. She's a teacher now. She was in care. We had to put her in care because I remember when we came back from France, when it was the Women's World Cup, we stepped foot off the minibus, and her parent had left bin bags there and told her that she's our responsibility now. And we had to navigate that whole system for her and still keep her in school without her taking her own life. And we got her through her exams. We got her through COVID. And we had a therapeutic support mentor on her all the time. And she came out the other side.
If someone's going to make a real change, the first thing you need is leverage. And I think that comes from what I call the pain and pleasure principle. You need to associate more pain with staying the same than you do with making a change. So for him, him smoking weed wasn't causing him any pain. Actually, when he found out how much it was stopping him with his boxing, that's when it became a pain for him to do it. So that's when he started to want to make a change. When you start to realize you want to make a change, that's when you've got from your leverage, that's your state. That's when you've got your strategy. So, okay, so this is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do instead. This is what's going to work. The way to break through the strategy is your story. So it's state, strategy, story. The story is the things you tell yourself. He identified himself as a weed smoker. This is who I am. We had to almost create a new identity with him, actually, around him being a boxer, him being Cal, him being that person.
And I think it really sunk in when a young girl, Millie, who was in hospital at the time, she reached out to me, and she had the same cancer as me. And she was actually in the same hospital that I was when I had my amputation. And she reached out to me on my website, and I went to go see her in hospital, and she's just incredible. But she used to be a football player as well, and she said that she saw me and she wanted to, you know, to play football the way that I was. And I think that was the moment that I thought, wow, I can really show people that you can get back in sport, and you can play the sport that you used to, even if you have lost a leg.
Broke my foot on a cell door, kicking it one day. I was just agitated and built up anger. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try and get help through sport.
Turned around and said to me, actually, no, you are going through, you know, chronic depression, and your sport kept you afloat. And without that, you know, you probably would have gone into a deep hole much more sooner than you actually.
We created a real community for so many young people, and it started off as a boxing club, but it's evolved into a mental health support group and so much more.
And when we went to the World Cup and I won the Golden Boot, I just wanted to dedicate that to all those people that perhaps think that they can't. And actually, I wanted to show them that you can. And if you want to, you can do whatever you want, no matter what you've been through.